Okay, everybody, we have reached the bottom of the hour, so let's get started with today's L10 webinar, How Smith and Nephew Unifies Training and Sales Execution, presented by Lego. My name is Tim Sosby. I'm editorial director for L10. It's my pleasure to welcome you today and to serve as a host of our webinar. And I'm going to start with that with some housekeeping items, and then I'm going to turn things over to our speakers today. We are planning a 30-minute session for you today. Your phones are on mute, but we would love to hear from you. Any questions, any comments, we'd love to hear from you throughout today's webinar. You can just type them in to the Q&A, the private Q&A box, or the public chat, either way you want, and we'll get to the questions as quickly as we can throughout today's webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand on the L10 website. I'm going to share an address with you later today for that, where the recording will be housed. I'm also going to send you a follow-up email tomorrow with a direct link to the recording. So through that email or through the L10 website, you'll be able to access the on-demand recording and feel free to share with your colleagues. And speaking of sharing, as you leave today, a follow-up survey is going to appear in a separate browser window. We would love your feedback on today's webinar, so feel free to look for that survey when you leave today and quickly share your thoughts with us. And along those lines, there's an email address where you can reach us if you have any questions about the webinar or your L10 membership. Certainly don't hesitate to reach out. All right, with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to our speaker today. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Marcus Woodard with Lego to get us started. Marcus, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, Tim, thanks for having us while we're pulling this up here. I'm Marcus Woodard. I'm coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina, and we've got a great topic for you today, how Smith and Nephew unify training and sales execution. And just want to thank you for carving out the time with us today. I know you guys are pretty busy, so let's see how good your listening skills are. I want everybody to go into the chat window and switch the drop down from hosts and panelists to everyone and let us know where you're tuning in from today. And go ahead and add your questions, comments into the chat or the Q&A panel. And we're going to do our best to get those answered live. Looks like we've got folks from Canada, the UK, Memphis, Nashville, all over the place. Um, so go ahead and get those into the chat, into the Q&A panel. I'm going to interrupt Rob as often as we can with questions. So
Excellent.
he's going to be on the fly there. Today's webinar is sponsored by Allego. Allego is the only modern revenue enablement platform to lead across digital selling, content, learning, and coaching. Rob, if you would go to the next slide. Powered by practical AI, Allego delivers the simplicity of an all-in-one platform without compromising depth, so teams can confidently know, show, and do what it takes to succeed. With that, I've already said Rob, but Rob, welcome. Robb Wagner is the Global Training Director, ENT at Smith Nephew, where he leads strategic education initiatives to elevate commercial performance and clinical expertise across a global team. With over 2 decades of experience spanning medical device sales training, operations, and leadership, his unique background includes frontline sales, sales management, CRM and operations leadership, and hands-on training development, making him a powerful advocate for performance-driven learning in med tech. A U.S. Air Force veteran and former nuclear missile combat crew commander, Rob brings discipline, clarity, and a mission-focused mindset to every challenge. Rob, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to push it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Marcus. I'm going to do my best to live up to that introduction. That's pretty fantastic. I hope that Rob shows up to this presentation. Just to start off with a little bit of an agenda today, a little bit of a disclaimer. As you saw at the beginning, I am a Smith Nephew employee, proudly, and I'm actually a proud customer of a Lego. And I'm not getting compensated for this. I'm here because I really believe in the platform and what they do and how they've helped us. And hopefully they can help you too if you think this is a fit for you. So our agenda is pretty simple today. I have three things I want to talk about and maybe one more thing if we're doing okay on time. The first thing I want to kind of go back is we've been with a Lego coming up on 5 years now. And actually do want to look back to the old way of business that we used to do things in training and within our business. And I want to compare to where we've gotten to so far, and we still have a long way to go. We're not where we want to be yet either. I also want to talk about how a Lego can operate as the sales companion for your sales force and build consistency in what they do and how they talk about your products. And finally, I want to focus on digital sales rooms for training. Now, there's a lot of talk about digital sales rooms as part of the sales process, and Lego definitely has a great tool for that. But I'm not in the sales process day in, day out. I'm in training. And I want to talk to you about how we're using it to build our product mastery, how we're using it with our distributor sellers and different locations around the world, and also how we use it as a marketing and a trade show tool as well. So, if nothing else, we hope to give you some ideas. And as Marcus said, anywhere along the way, please drop questions in the chat if you have something that you have some interest in or want to learn more about. We'll answer them as we go. And we'll obviously hopefully have a time for a couple of questions at the end as well. All right, when it comes to the old way, it's funny because I've talked to people of all around the country about how they run training in their business, and we all have common problems. And let's be fair, we all still have problems even after coming onto new platforms, but hopefully we have better problems. And we used to have an in-house website that kind of housed all of our marketing and customer promotional material and all the how-to guides and surgical technique guides and all that stuff. And it was a little clunky and it was difficult to use. It wasn't built for purpose. It was basically a storage site for materials. And it wasn't universal. What we found when we really look back on it is we had a website for brochures, we had a different, shared drives for other things, we had Teams folders, we had all of our material all over the place. And it really took a master's degree in content management just to figure out where things were. And it was tough for us as people who dealt with that every day. It was impossible for our sellers. And the other thing we found out and what we realized along the way is we thought we knew how people were using our materials, but we really didn't have any statistics on how often they were using things with customers and how often they were sending them out. And truthfully, how did our customers respond to those materials so we could get better? And then the other thing is we had a lot of blind spots in our business about how do I learn what my people know now, and how do I build a training plan for how they're going to learn in the future? Now, those are all things we've all faced in the past, and like I said, no company is, I think, fixed everything, but we're getting better. But now that we've gone to a Lego and gone to this modern platform, we do have a few things really under control. One is version control for content. And actually, earlier today, I got a message from one of my sales managers asking for a very specific item. He's having trouble finding it. And I obviously said, hey, that's on a Lego. It's in this section. And we got him the right thing. And I knew because a Lego has become our language of that's where we send everybody. If they have any questions, if it's not there, it's not an approved piece. So the version control and its ability to keep that up to date for us has been really great. Uh, Having one platform for us to both do our learning on and our communication on and have our promotional materials has been a real boon for our sellers. They really like that they don't have to have 18 different logins for all these different systems. And the automated signals we're seeing, and I'm going to show you a couple of those about how launches are going and how things are going with our sellers and with our customers. Those have been really helpful. And then for me as a learning professional, just having stats on how my learners are completing things, how on time they are. And it's a much friendlier location than traditional LMS, which obviously we have one of those as well. But for the day-to-day kind of in and out of learning that our sellers need and the ad hoc learning that we do, it's really been helpful to have those stats and abilities to learn through that. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is this kind of a Lego as your sales companion as a seller. Because at the end of the day, what pays all of our paychecks is our sellers' ability to communicate well with their customers and get them to obviously use our products. And one of the things that I have found really helpful in a Lego is it's allowed us to push more information into the buying journey of the customer. And it's also enabled us to equip our sellers to deliver that messaging more quickly and more effectively than they have before. So, what I put on the screen here is actually just a really recent example of a campaign that we have been launching here with our sales team globally. So, on the left hand side, you see in a Lego course. And what I love about Lego courses is they're really simple. They're easy to navigate. You got your steps 1, 2, 3, 4, quiz at the end, material at the beginning. And what you see there is the first thing is just a video that they watch. And this is a video of Alexa, one of our marketing managers, reviewing a new piece of clinical evidence and what's important about it. Now, the great news is we recorded this in about 15 or 20 minutes. She's obviously a subject matter expert on this material, and we got a usable version in very quick order. The next step is actually viewing the sales piece. You can see the sales piece there. So the course pushes them into the actual material. But one of the other thing I love about the courses that you can't really do with LMSs nearly as easily is I also was able to go grab the link to the full version of this clinical paper because it's open access and encourage our sellers to go read the full version, not just the summary that we provide as a sales tool. And then to make sure they're getting what they need out of each one is we have a quiz at the end, 5 or 6 questions that hit the key learning objectives of what we want them to know about this. And obviously that drives reporting, right? Is, hey, how many people are done? How quickly did they finish? How many people are left that haven't been taught this new material? Now, we obviously combine things like this with live virtual learning, which we've done with this course, and then follow-ons. And that's actually what you see on the next slide on the right-hand side of the screen this is actually one of the announcement functions that we use that allows us to continue sending top-of-mind information to our sellers. So this is just an announcement reminding them that we had this podcast that they could go watch in Allego that was one of our doctors talking about this actual clinical piece. So when we talk about how do we launch is we don't just give people clinical pieces or give them a video to look at. We really try and give them multiple looks at the same material from different expertise. We're doing virtual live training, the e-learning you see here on the left, then a reminder item with a follow-up thing to watch or peruse. And we can also see how many of our sellers are going to those new things, and we can push it to them in different ways, whether that be on the right, like just an announcement when they opened up their app a couple of Mondays ago, that's what they all saw. They click through to it, and they can watch it then or watch it later. But it really does allow us the ability to kind of water in those messages in a way you don't get with an LMS. And obviously a way you don't get with live training, because live training virtually even is very difficult to manage across time zones, across countries. And this has been a really big boon for us. All right, the second way as a sales companion is the actual pages where we put our promotional material. And I wanted this to be as real as it could be for you as if you're seeing this and this isn't a type of material that you're using, this is actually the sales page or the materials page that we have in Allego for our tonsils and adenoids, which is a big part of our business. And one of the reasons I use this picture is, I'm just gonna be really honest, our page is kind of ugly. If you want to have prettier pages, you definitely can. But what we have found with our sales force all around the globe is simple works. They have a page, it has everything they need. It is in an order that does not change, but we can update it infinitely as new material comes around, and they always know where to find new information. So for example, here, the very top line is our sales brochures for our tonsils and adenoids products. Below that is all the clinical information that we expect them to use with their customers. Below that are the surgical videos that support our clinical evidence and our products. And then there's a link to below that are some courses on our medical education site that they can send customers to. And at the very bottom are the reference materials that are pertinent to this area of the business. And every one of our pages, and I'll actually go to another one, kind of follows this same methodology of simple. And we have found that simple works and that globally, and we operate in the ENT business in probably 25 or 30 countries with direct sellers and then indirect, in most of the others, is among our direct sellers, we have about 95% of our sellers are in Allego every month using their materials. And we're trying to get it to 100, but I can assure you it is so much higher than it was before when we had some very disjointed systems. All right. Now, this is another page. This is one of our other product categories. We work in the nasal cavity on a piece of anatomy called a turbinate, and no one needs to know about that. But what you'll see is obviously there's less materials, but it's the same organization: brochures, clinical studies, videos. And what you see here is that methodology of simplicity and everyone always knowing when they get to a page, they understand how it works. And that's something that's worked really well for us, is not trying to get too cute with the materials. You can definitely add a lot of design, a lot of links, a lot of touches, but most of our users, when they view this material, they're either looking at it on their phone or on an iPad, and just making it easy to navigate and easy to move through really, really helps. So that's how they get their materials. Now, I want to talk about kind of the next thing is on digital sales rooms. Now, I did not know a few years ago what a digital sales room was, and I acted like I did for a bit. So, and maybe some of you are doing the same, is a digital sales room is just a location online where you can put all the information a customer is going to need for a process, whether that be, all the documents they're going to need to sign for a contract or all the materials they need for a value analysis committee. And it's basically a single website that you can share with a customer that has all this stuff in one place. Now, for sales, that's great. And we definitely use it for that. But I actually want to talk to you how we use these types of resources for training and different events and customer development. So I'm going to go through 4 different scenarios. I'm going to show you live versions of 3 of them and mention the 4th. But one of the things we have found is these digital sales rooms really help people focus their attention, because you saw my previous 2 rooms, and there are many others with our products. Whenever we're going to do training or whenever we're going to launch something, we find a digital sales rooms allows us to just put just a couple of things in each room to allow us to focus. So my first example here is actually from a recent meeting we did in Florence, Italy for our international and emerging markets teams. We brought them all together for their national sales meeting. And one of the things we were doing there is we were launching all the new marketing materials and things that they were going to use for 2026. So what we did is our marketing, we have some great marketing professionals in my division, and they came up with this idea to basically give everyone this little keychain. And on the keychain, it's got these 4 sides. One side obviously says Smith Nephew, and the other 3 sides had these QR codes that led to these digital sales rooms where they have placed the new materials for 2026. Now, these have an expiration date. They actually have about 30 days left from now, and the rooms are going to be closed. And everyone will then, of course, need to always go back to their original locations. But this really just highlighted these are the new materials for this year. And what's really great about a digital sales room is the analytics, is the ability to say, hey, here's the new material. That's what it looks like. But what did your teams do with it? Now, I can tell you for our meeting, we had about 55 sellers there who were in the room and received their keychains and all this. So, and, we told them, hey, after you leave the meeting, go back and review this. And now I actually ran this yesterday, 2 days ago. And one of the things, this was for one of the 3 digital sales rooms. And what we found is about half of them have been in the room looking around doing things. That doesn't mean they haven't accessed the material from another direction, but they've actually used the tool that we gave them. And on the right, you can see kind of how it happened, right? If you look at that graph really carefully, you can probably figure out what day we were in Florence, because that's obviously the biggest spike. But one of the things that's really interesting, you can start seeing this, is you also see the usage over time. And I'll show you some of the other uses we get, and we see the same thing. Is obviously we had a peak when we handed out the keychains and people are scanning them. But weirdly, and you do get these notifications as well, we saw a spike actually a couple of days ago of some of our sellers coming back to it. Now, what this has told us as a training team and as a marketing team is we've gotten about 50% penetration of getting people to this location. And what that's driven us to do is actually next week, we're meeting to set up a follow-up training to make sure everyone has accessed and looked through and become really familiar with all these new sales materials that we train them on at the sales meeting. So this is one of the ways where you get those feedback loops that kind of help you understand what your next step is going to be as a trainer. All right, so that's the first one is, just rolling it out for new sales materials. It's kind of an interesting use. I want to go through two other uses I've found with digital sales rooms and we're using that have been really helpful.
Hey, Rob,
One of the things,
before you
oh,
move
go ahead,
on,
Marcus.
Rob,
I'm sorry.
we got a question coming in
Yes, sir. What do you
from
got?
Nigel. Do you use this platform to support skills training to support NPIs?
All right. So, new NPI, I'm guessing is new product introductions. I'm guessing, but if it means something else, please let us know.
He said yes,
Um,
yes.
okay. So yes, we absolutely use it for training. That it is our primary day-to-day training tool in addition to our live training. So we will use it to develop courses. So whether we have a specific skill we want them to focus on, a specific messaging, or even a end of course uh, court. Yeah. For example, next week, or yeah, no, 2 weeks from now, I'm sorry, I'm doing live training at our home office in Austin, Texas. And all the learners in that class at the end of their week of live training, they'll actually spend about 2 to 3 hours in a Lego recording their responses to different sessions, doing in services and showing how we in service our products, doing simulated sales calls, including AI interactions where they're interacting with an AI surgeon. So, absolutely, it is an amazing tool for kind of your day-to-day learning.
And these are just for open source, right? You can close them off um, to just specific groups or just basically you can control access, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have our access at a few different layers. We obviously have global access groups where kind of everyone can see them. And then we have them segmented by region. So for our business, we break into America's international emerging markets. And then we can also third segment them down to country level. And then obviously for a course where you have people in a classroom, you'll just basically just do them person by person. And you within a Lego, you can, especially if a large class, you can build a class group that's temporary that you use for assignments. And it's very easy to do, but my classes are usually a little bit smaller. I just kind of do them one by one as needed.
Perfect. I'll let you keep going.
All right, perfect. Okay, so that's digital sales rooms. Now, one of the things I love about this platform is trade shows are tough. And we go to lots of them all around the globe. And one of the things that's difficult about trade shows is having the right materials there at the right time with our sellers ready to use them. And one of the things we have found with these digital sales rooms is before every trade show, we build a new digital sales room for that trade show. What you're seeing here is the digital sales room for ESPO, which is the European Society of Pediatric Otolaryngology from last year. And as a group between the marketing and the sales, they sit and they talk about, all right, what is the focus that we're going to do at this show? What do we want our customers to see? So we're all on message. And then we take those specific materials out of all the things we have and push them into one digital sales room that all of the people manning the booth will use to share with customers on their iPads and go through different clinical materials, surgical videos, things like that. That's really tightly matched to that meeting rather than digging through the several pages that we have within a Lego. Now, the other thing we use this for is a lot of trade shows will obviously ask you to pay a very large sum of money for their lead generation tool. And some shows you pay for it, some shows you don't. But what we found is in this digital sales room, what will often, if a customer wants more information, we'll have at the booth a QR code for the digital sales room that they can just scan. They have access to everything. And we at the top have a QR code that they can scan or we can scan and fill out with them if they want to get a follow on, a visit from a sales representative, or they need follow on information that isn't quickly available. And we get that information from them quickly. We send it along on their way. And we actually have a good follow up mechanism for what happened at the trade shows, which I know is always a struggle. It's really a difficult thing to manage, especially with all the different systems that all the different trade shows use around the world. We found this to be a pretty simple, easy way for our sellers and our sales leaders and our marketers in the sales booth to really deliver the material we need in each individual trade show. Now, what I love about this takes about 20 minutes to set up. It's really, really quick. After you've made one, they get even faster. And for every large trade show we do, and also for some of the small regional ones with some of our sellers that are a little more tech savvy than some of the others, we'll set up smaller ones as well for just one or two key products for a very specific trade show or a local trade show. So this is one I'm really excited about. We just started doing this last year in earnest, and it's really, really been paying off for us as far as our ability to communicate well in the trade show booth with our customers. And I'm actually going to a trade show next week where I'm going to be using this for one of our very specific products because it's a very tightly grouped topic trade show. So it's a tool that I just love. All right. Now, the other one, and this is a little unusual, is I know we have people from all over that do all sorts of different training. One of the struggles I have is in our non direct markets. So obviously we sell in several direct markets, and you have very strong relationships with your employees because you have kind of this kind of IT connection and email connections, and you're really tightly grouped to them. But a lot of you, and I know I have this and other parts of our business have this, is we have kind of these distributor networks kind of spread all over the world. And one of the things we've done for them is when we provide training for them, and I actually do this in live training now too. I didn't at first, but I've started coming around to it is for our live training is I build a digital sales room for that actual training. So this was actually a training that wasn't run by me. This was run by one of our marketers for our South African distributors. So the distributors in the areas in the countries of South Africa in that part of the world. And what they did is they brought together all these materials and they said, this is what we're going to focus on. They gave them a QR code when they walked in the room, and they had a page with all the material they were going to cover for the following 2 days. And I've done this with distributor training all around the world. They really appreciate not having to navigate through a bunch of stuff. And we've also built digital sales rooms so they always have access to all the relevant material that they need on a day-to-day basis. So there are a million other uses for digital sales rooms and how they work. And I'm going to end with just one tiny more thing is someone asked a question earlier about kind of using it for courses. And we have been using, and one of the things we're doing in our business is advanced selling skills. And getting ready for a live virtual training is always a little like pulling teeth with your sales managers and sales leaders, especially. They're incredibly busy. So one of the things we did is we actually built a course in Allego that got them ready for the live training. And this is an example. We do a lot of these where we did 4 weeks of Allego pre-work. They had to go through, answer some questions, do some role plays, getting ready for the live sessions. Then that really set us up so everyone was ready for intense live session. And then we did some follow-up coaching exercises using the Allego AI coaching materials that really allowed us to analyze how effective they had onboarded the information taught. All right, that's it for me. I want to say thank you guys for everything. If we have any questions, I think maybe we have a couple of minutes. There is a QR code on the screen that leads you to an Allego information page. There's some really great resources there. They have their Digital Sales Revolution book, which you can download, which is fantastic. And also my LinkedIn information's there. If you'd like to reach out to me, I'd love to talk to any other training professionals. I think we get better the more we just share with each other. All right, that's all I have. Tim, anything or Marcus, any kind of last minute questions?
Yeah, so I just added the resource room there. If you, for some reason, don't have a phone, you can click that link and it will take you right to the resource room. We've got the slides in there for you. We've got, like Rob said, a bunch of free materials. You can download the digital selling book or digital room book. I've also added Rob's LinkedIn, so make sure you connect with him on LinkedIn. It's also in that digital room. Bunch of free resources in there. Go ahead and download it. Looks like we've answered all the questions here, Rob. I might just hand it back over to Tim for his
All right.
closing statements. We're running up on time here,
Yeah,
so
we're right at the time. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks, guys.
thank you, Rob. Tim, take it away.
Thank you very much. I was just sharing my screen here. Rob, excellent presentation. Thank you so much for joining us today. Marcus, thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you. It went by quick.
Yeah, it did. It went
It
fast.
always
Thanks, guys.
does. Folks, if you do have any questions that we did not get to, please do keep typing them in and we can certainly get answers for you offline. But just as we're wrapping up today, I wanted to end with a couple of invitations here. One, I wanted to have you all get more involved with L10. I'd love to have you Join a committee, write an article for L10 Focus on Training magazine, speak on a webinar. Lots of ways you can join us and help out and share through the network. So please do feel free to reach out to any of our L10 team and we can help you get started. And I'm going to ask you to all join us for our next webinar. We'll be back here on Thursday, March 26th, a couple of weeks away from today, talking about how AI is fixing life sciences content velocity problem. You can find out more information on that program and others and register there as well. And you can find out our today's on-demand recording will be available within the hour at l-10.org/webinars. I'm also going to send you, as a reminder, a follow-up email tomorrow with the direct link to the recording today, but it will be up within an hour from now if you're looking for it earlier. Other than that, there's our email address. We can help with anything. Let me send final thank yous to our speakers today, Robb Wagner and Marcus Woodard, to our sponsors at Lego, and to all of you for your time, attention, and participation. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye, everyone.